Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Ignite Studio. I'm Jeremy Chapman from the Microsoft Mechanics team and also from Office 365. Over the next 15 minutes, we're going to focus on one of my favorite topics, Office 365 ProPlus. I know a lot of people are looking at deploying that in Windows 10. We're going to look at deployment, software updating, and also the changes to the software update model that we've done as part of the latest updates to Office 365 ProPlus. We're going to look at the Office 2016 deployment tool and some of the recently added options. And we're going to look at software update management and deployment using System Center Configuration Manager and more. But before we begin, please give me a warm welcome for Mr. Amesh Mansukani from the Office engineering team.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's great to be here.
And I have been working with him for a while, so I do know how to pronounce your name. All right, so we've been working on this for, actually we've had it in market for more than a year in terms of the update model and the updates for Office from a 2016 perspective. People are really getting serious about deploying their desktops and really upgrading not only the operating system, but also Office. What have we been doing, and what should people be aware of in terms of the Office updates?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of great feedback from our customers around the Office 365 Pro Plus 2013 version, and we've taken all that feedback into the product teams and now come up with a whole bunch of new set of features. A couple of things that we've done is we've introduced the capability of deferring your feature updates using multiple channels, which we'll talk about a little bit.
Yep.
We've also added some new features or better integration with System Center Configuration Manager, and then we've also introduced the ability to do more side-by-side capabilities with perpetual or volume license versions of Office with the Office 365 Pro Plus.
Really great stuff, and I think a lot of those pieces of feedback, some of them very friendly and some of them not always so friendly, came to me, so a lot of that is really good to see here come to fruition. Let's start by looking at updates in the client deployment, because I know that we've updated the Office deployment tool. Can you give us a look there?
Yeah, definitely. So we have the concept of the Office deployment tool that allows you to be able to configure your Office packages prior to actually pushing them out to your individual users. And it's a free download that you can easily get from the Microsoft Download Center. You can go to aka.ms/ODT 2016, and you get to a page like this. And what you're downloading is, again, is two simple files, a setup.exe, which is our bootstrapper that you'll execute against, and then a configuration XML file, which allows you to do all the different configs. And if you go to our TechNet site, we have plenty of great content to show you exactly all the different configurations that we have available. But now let me show you kind of an example of what that configuration file looks like.
So just a step back, you've got a setup bootstrapper that has a couple of functions to download the bits, install the bits.
Correct.
We're going to show that here.
So we're going to show exactly how you actually configure it before you install the bits on an individual device. So here what you can see is I have the ability to go and change a couple of things. We have the 32-bit edition. I can easily change that to 64. We have the ability to look at different channels. These are the update channels that we're going to talk about shortly. There's current and deferred. Yep. And then we have the ability to modify things like adding additional languages. So I could say add an additional language here. Can add an additional language ID. We'll say ES for Spanish. And then from there, we can also do things like exclude applications. So if I want to take out a particular application, so I get exclude app.
And the great thing with this tool, so a lot of people will say, oh, it's the Office 365 Office, so it must be streamed from the cloud. And maybe I don't want that because I'm using Config Manager or some other software distribution tool. This lets you take the bits into your own data center, into your own servers, distribute them however you want to do, using that tool. So after we do the /download command with that setup.exe bootstrapper, we would then use the /configure command against this ODT file, and then we can keep all of that deployment, if we want to, offline until we get to activation.
That's correct. And then for the rest of this configuration, what you can see here is we have the ability to add additional products like Visio Pro, which we have here.
Right. So speaking of, moving on, so we have also the ability to do some different things with updates. And some of the things that are different with Office 2016 and those builds of Office 365 Pro Plus is we have the ability to split those updates into a couple different flavors. So right now, or I should say in the past, we only had one monolithic update option. So we get the monthly update that included both security and feature updates. And I came from IT, and I know that a lot of people like to skip the feature updates and only apply the security updates because if something goes wrong, you have an out. You can say, but we had to plug the security hole. That way, I only get the security that I want, but the feature stuff I'll want to defer. And listening to that, we're like, okay, well, maybe we can figure out a way to defer those updates. So we'll still continue to build all the different updates that we have monthly. This is how like consumer versions of Office will get it. If you've got current configured, where Amesh was showing in the ODT config file, you will get monthly updates that contain both security and feature updates. But let's say I just want to reduce the amount of feature updates going out per year to something a little bit more manageable and have maybe 3 updates per year, and that's what we have the ability to do now, while retaining the security updates. So now we can basically postpone those feature updates 5 months into the cycle. We can even skip one of those and continue getting security updates for a total of 8 months until the next feature update, so we can stay on a build of updates, one feature state, if we want to, for up to 8 months. So this gives us the ability to stay current on security while not having the feature updates, maybe if they're confusing for users or hard to train for, any of those types of things that you might be worried about. Now we have the ability to do that.
And we've seen a lot of customers actually choose a combination of both of them, right? Where they're saying users who don't need to, users who would like to be able to get features faster, but don't use all the additional, application compatibility or have application compatibility concerns, want to be on the current channel. While users who have application compatibility concerns want to be more on that deferred update model.
Right, and we've done a lot in terms of the other piece of feedback that I heard a lot during my time frame of doing Office 365 ProPlus, the 2013 days. I want native support in Config Manager because software updates are a little bit different than the old WSUS managed process. The deployment uses this new config file. It's not like the MSI days where Config Manager knew how to actually write my OCT settings and create that MSP package. We've done some work there as well, right?
We actually have, and for the first time, I'm going to show everybody our new integration of our first installs.
So you saw it here first. Everybody online watching, everybody here is going to see a world premiere demo of some Config Manager stuff that's never been shown in public before.
That's correct. So here it is, starting with our technical preview in System Center Configuration Manager of 1609. We now have the ability to create our packages using all the configuration files, but all in a wizard-based approach. And as you can see here, I could start typing in a couple of basic metadata information. So I'll say I'm going to push this out to the finance team. And then I'm going to store my content directly into a local host just for this demo, make it easier. And now the nice thing about this is if you're going to download the new bits directly from the Office CDN, and you already have files in the same location, it's actually just going to point to these regular files versus re-downloading it for distribution.
You can just have that setup basically say install Office. If you don't see bits locally, then it will just go to the cloud and grab them anyway by default if you haven't specified a path that's local to your network system.
That's correct. So now the other option we have, if you already have a number of configuration files defined in your organization, you can easily just ingest them directly into the wizard. If not, you want to go ahead and create a new one, which we'll do for this demo. You have the ability to just recreate that configuration set of settings. As you can see, you could pick multiple different suites. We have ProPlus versus the Office 365 Business product. And then as we did in the earlier demo, I'm going to exclude a couple of different things. Like I could exclude Access there. If I want to exclude the Groove client, which is the older OneDrive for Business client, I can do so here. And I can also choose the additional applications, such as Project or Visio Online, that we also do sell. We have the multiple flavors, the Office 365 subscription, which is based off click to run, or we also have the volume licensing editions that we kind of talked about briefly earlier.
And this is something I think a lot of people really requested, was they might not be updating their builds of Visio or Project every single cycle. They want to stay current on the Office builds, but Visio and Project we can keep on those perpetual volume licensing bits and continue on the subscription for Office 365 ProPlus.
That's correct. And from this point onwards, we can just select the other basic set of configurations. If I want 64-bit, what channel I want to be able to manage. So we'll select first release for deferred, for example. And then we have the ability to look at all the different languages. So I can add Arabic, Bengala, and then choose the default language that I want to have available in my config file. So all this is doing is building that config file right in the background.
Right.
And then we have a number of properties that we have set over here. So for example, I want to accept the overall EULA and auto-activate. You're not going to see all the settings here because they're not typically relevant, as the other settings are done for offline installers or update mechanism.
Right.
The other thing that we're also going to enable here is the ability to set up the management through System Center Configuration Manager, which typically in the Office deployment tool, you would have to set manually.
So that Office or that O365 management column setting that we saw earlier.
Yep.
But we're in System Center. There's more to show here, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, now this is the brand new stuff that we just showed here. After that, we just talk about the basic deployment. This is the basic deployment workflow that everybody's used to seeing. So if I say I want to deploy it now, I can go ahead and go through that basic workflow that System Center already provides me today. So I'm not teaching anybody anything new from that standpoint.
Target the collections that you want, push out deployment, all the kind of normal stuff that you would do with Config Manager.
Or we can go ahead and just advertise it as an optional install, and then you can go to the individual portal and be able to install directly from there.
And there are some new views that you're working on in Config Manager as well, right?
That's correct, and for the first time as well.
Another world premiere, so the first time we're showing this as well here in this session. So client management and System Center Configuration Manager.
Correct. We have the Office 365 Client Management Dashboard, which allows you to have a quick view of your organization, your environment, and see what you actually have. So I can see the number of actual devices available within my organization. I can see the versions that are available there, as well as languages, and even determine what channels they're all on. The addition, as we saw, this is where you would launch your overall first installer. We also have the ability to create and manage ADRs or automatic deployment rules directly from this particular dashboard, or be able to push out any additional client settings from this new pin.
So super cool stuff, but we're in Config Manager. We're in System Center Config Manager, the best software updating platform out there. Can I update Office 365 ProPlus clients using the tools that I normally use to update all the rest of my software in Windows?
Of course you can. We've introduced that back in 16.0.
Probably the most common request I got mails for.
Right, because the overall question that we've been getting is, how do I maintain my software to my Office on the latest set of software?
Right.
And that's kind of what we're enabling here. So with the dashboard, we've introduced the Office 365 update node here that allows me to go ahead and basically filter all my different nodes. You see all the different channels, all the different versions that we have available here. And then I can go ahead and either download, again, for advertisement, or just deploy directly to a set of collections that I need to.
And if you show my machine here for just a sec, we'll show you what the process looks like. So in this case, what Config Manager will actually do, we can actually enumerate the updates that are coming from WSUS. It's going to pull down kind of a pointer file, effectively, that's saying that there are updates available. And that pointer file will instruct the update mechanism to go and look up to the Office 365 cloud in order to pull the updates and distribute those, right?
And that's a big difference from standard updates for anything else like Windows or any other Microsoft products that we have, where we're looking directly at the Office CDN to have a location for the right sources versus going to the Microsoft update services.
So the rest of the updates, they just look and feel like?
The rest of the updates just go through the standard software update management workflow, which everybody's used to today.
Very, very cool. So anything else to show on the System Center side?
Well, I do have one last thing to show here, and these are some new reports that we have coming out with System Center Configuration Manager.
This is also brand new, right?
These are also fairly brand new. We do have them available if you want to go on GitHub right now and get them, aka.ms/office scripts, or they'll be built into System Center Configuration Manager close to about the end of the year.
Really cool.
And you can see this gives you more in-depth information, rich information about what's actually happening with your environment. So we could look at things like, how many clients do I actually have there? We have a couple with graphs, or even languages. How many languages are out in my environment? The other one that we've had a lot of people ask for is around update sources, and to really figure out where people are getting their updates from, because sometimes people bring in or install their own client directly from the Office 365 portal if they choose to, or if it's advertised and they can make certain changes if they're allowed to by their admin. And as you can see on this particular chart, we have a lot of information that focuses on where those updates are. So you can see there's a number of devices that are pointing to a local share, and some are actually pointing directly from the cloud.
Okay.
And the rest of the information here tells you about your basic information. What's your computer name, what product I'm actually installed, whether it's ProPlus or Business, of course, languages, and product version information.
So tons of cool stuff, but I know your work's never done in the Office deployment world, so I know there's some really, really exciting stuff coming. What are you working on?
Well, we're working on a lot of great stuff. We've got some more feedback around customizability and doing more GPO-like kind of settings in the cloud. So I'm going to be showcasing that later on today in my session. So come out, check my session out, and look forward to showcasing that.
That sounds really cool. So GPO-like settings coming from the Office 365 portal, even to like a personally owned device?
Yes, definitely.
Wow, that's amazing. That's good. That's really cool. So you have to check that out. So this is really, really good stuff. Thanks for showing us some world exclusive here in this case. Of course, you can learn more by watching Microsoft Mechanics. We've got some great series with Starry Namesh, actually, and myself, talking about the service model, the updating model, and also the things that you can do in System Center Configuration Manager. Also, check out Amesh's session as well as the other content here this week for Office 365 Pro Plus deployment. That's all the time we have for this show. Thank you, everybody, for watching here at Ignite, and thank you for watching online. Goodbye for now.